is. I know football, and I know where
Yeah.
Lance is. I know where Lance's development is, and I know how the team's going to look if you put him out there. They're going to be very different than they are now. He's got big playability. He's going to improve, but there's going to be some ugly games. There's going to be some 52% completion games and games where, kind of like the Bears game in the first half or the
Yeah.
Texans game in the first half, where you look up and you're like, we have less than 10 points and we don't look that sharp. So Lance is a quarterback drafted on traits, and he has those traits, and he still has those traits. But just because you have traits doesn't mean that you're ready to step in and win in the NFL. And I don't like the way Shanahan used him, to be completely honest. And Shanahan didn't use him that way for no reason. He used him that way because he felt he needed to use him that way. So
Yeah.
he's telling us an awful lot by his usage of Lance of what he thinks of Trey as a pocket passer in the present. So there's that factor. Do you, you know,
Yeah. Yeah. So
do
do
you
you
want
want
to
to
go
go
with
there right
Lance?
now? Do you want to go there right now before we
Uh,
go to the Brady part? Like,
whatever.
for example, I actually thought the way he used them was fine. I'm going to go there. Yeah, I know it's a little bit controversial, but all those quarterbacks that we like to talk about, right, that had this development route, you had to put the game on their legs early in their career because they were still learning how to play from the pocket, right? You had
But
to
there's
put the
different
game on
ways of
Josh
doing
Allen's
that. There's
legs.
different ways
Right.
of doing that. You
There
don't
is,
have
Larry, but
just because somebody's going to use a quarterback's legs doesn't mean you're going to snap the ball to him and then just basically let him find a hole.
I mean, he made the wrong
Unblocked.
read, right? He made the wrong
Unblocked.
read.
They
It's
did
a
that
zone
they
read
did that
play.
a bunch. They did that a ton. They snapped the ball to Lance in the shotgun. No blockers except for his offensive line. And
Right,
then
they
just
ran
said
some quarterback draws, right, within a
just
couple of
run.
quarterback
Just
powers.
find a hole, make it happen. I don't like that at
And
all. I don't like running my quarterback between the tackles. You get your legs broken between the tackles, and he almost did.
right, I mean, yes, those things are inarguable, right? You get more injured running in between the tackles. The one thing I would say is, I those are also the runs he executed in college as well, right? So you're also trying to live in his comfortability. But I think more or less, you and I are agreeing in a lot of ways. We agree with where Lance is in his development. We also agree with where his potential could be. I feel like there's a complete disconnect in this conversation because I feel like a lot of people who are pro starting Lance don't necessarily realize, how that really would look in a lot of ways. And I don't think they realize, in fact, and it's not even as a discredit to Trey Lance, because I just feel like that's part of his growth journey for him to ultimately reach where he ends up reaching. And if he ends up reaching, what his growth capacity is, he could be, a top five-ish quarterback in the NFL. It's just more a case of where he is right now, and where he is right now results in the offense having to be executed a certain way, right? Like when the Niners brought Jimmy Garoppolo back, there was that Jay Glazer story in the middle of the season about how Shanahan and Lynch brought in those 15 veterans and told them that every time Lance throws an incompletion, interception, anything, you got to prop him up and bring it. So they kind of knew how it was going to look early with Lance. They were hoping that there would be a level of growth that would occur during the season. And I think the fact that he hasn't been able to play for 3 years, it has to make you a little bit nervous, just because that there's still development he needs to go through. But you also have to make
But
a
that's not
decision on
true.
his
See,
fifth year
that what
option.
you said there isn't true. He did play. He played. It was September 11th. It was at Soldier Field. He went
Come on, Larry.
13 of 28.
That
It
game
was
was in a
100. He threw for
monsoon.
164 yards.
It
He
was in a
completed
monsoon.
46% of his passes. He had threw no touchdowns. He threw one interception. His long completion was 44 yards. He took 2 sacks. I'm just saying, he played. He played. It wasn't like
The
he didn't
game,
play. He
Larry,
did
come
play.
on. The fourth quarter of that game was halfway underwater. I couldn't really get a fair grip on,
I'm
what we
not
can
saying
see.
but just there's people that are going to parse everything that we're saying. At least just say it the way it is. He played. He played.
Right, he
It was
played.
a
He
rainy
played.
day. He played, but he didn't not
Right.
play. He did play. There's a big
Right.
difference between
No,
not
you're
playing
right
and playing.
about that. You're absolutely right about that. And we did get to see a little bit in preseason. And I thought, I want to say, was it the preseason game against the Texans where he took a couple of sacks and stuff? I thought he was late getting rid of the ball. Thought he didn't manage the pocket too well. So he, he had his up and down moments in the little we've seen him play. But even that sample, Larry, whether, we agree he played, right? I'm not going to disagree with you. He played. But even that playing, it's such a small sample for us to say, like, pencil it in. This is exactly who he is. And we want to see that play out. And the unfortunate situation is the timing of letting that play out and the timing of where this team is. I don't know if that really works, right? You look at this defense, you're 1 year closer now to this defense getting a little bit older and everybody in this defense getting really old. And you have this core of an amazing players. We'll see what they want to do